Witness the colossal boxing showdown nobody expected, live on Netflix. International superstar Jake Paul, the sport's most watched fighter, takes on Britain's two-time unified heavyweight world champion and Olympic gold medalist, Anthony A.J. Joshua, in the most dangerous and defining matchup of their careers. This is Judgment Day. Watch Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua, Friday, December 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, live on Netflix.
Hey everyone, it's Russell.
And Christine.
So I just found this mobile game everyone's talking about. Royal Match. Gorgeous graphics and super fun puzzles.
Bro, you're late. I'm already at level 700. I play it every day on the subway because it doesn't need Wi-Fi.
Wait, what? I've got to catch up.
Oh, and they just added new mini-games. They make it even more fun and challenging.
Alright, show's over. I'm gonna go play.
Download Royal Match on the App Store or Google Play today.
Hey everyone, it's Russell.
And Christine.
So I just found this mobile game everyone's talking about. Royal Match. Gorgeous graphics and super fun puzzles.
Bro, you're late. I'm already at level 700. I play it every day on the subway because it doesn't need Wi-Fi.
Wait, what? I've got to catch up.
Oh, and they just added new mini-games. They make it even more fun and challenging.
Alright, show's over. I'm gonna go play.
Download Royal Match on the App Store or Google Play today.
Week 15 was brutal for some of the biggest names in the game. Patrick Mahomes and Micah Richards, both sustaining season-ending ACL injuries. And for the Kansas City Chiefs, this compounded the disappointment of being eliminated from the playoffs for the first time in more than a decade. The Ravens keep their postseason hopes alive, but they lose rookie linebacker Teddy Buchanan for the year, also with an ACL injury. And how about them Cowboys? Or not, as the case may be. Mathematically, the playoffs might still be achievable. Realistically, stick a fork in Dallas. Their season is done. As for the show, we were 1-2 against the line with our picks in Week 15. That means the overall record with 3 weeks to go slips to 19-23-2. So, what does the future hold in store? Let's find out as we turn the page and look ahead to Week 16 in the NFL.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Hello, welcome along to the show. This is Graves on Gridiron. I am your host, Richard Graves. As I've just mentioned, we went 1-2 against the line last week. The Ravens did turn up for once to play Cincinnati and confounded our expectations winning that. I told you, do not overlook the Denver Broncos at home, certainly when they're being given points. And I don't care who it is against, and they handle business there. I also said Dallas would feed George Pickens often and early. Give me the -6 against the Minnesota Vikings. The rest, shall we say, is history. So welcome along to the Week 16 Graves on Gridiron preview show, where it is also an open forum. Consider this a safe space for all NFL fans to vent their frustrations, because I can't do this on my own anymore. I need to bring on a kindred spirit. And through the course of the season, there has been only one, the very same one that wrote an open letter to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last Friday morning, which read as follows. Dear Buccaneers, up 8 points with 8 minutes 30 left in the fourth quarter, 1st and 10 on the opposition 45, possible playoff spot on the line. Would you please run the damn ball? Many thanks, Charles. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one, the only, Charles Dagnall. Great to see you, Daggers.
Well, we all get to that stage, don't we? And I was just watching dumbfounded, much as you would have done it with your beloved Dallas Cowboys against Minnesota. And I'm watching this going, you know, you are just on the outside of Chase McLaughlin's field goal range anyway. And you could make it a 2-score game if you just run it. Even if you get 6 or 7 yards, you're making a 56, 57-yard attempt, which is probably going to get. And then we throw the interception. Baker throws the interception, and Atlanta go down the field, and they win the game. And now we're 7-7. And I'm just going, we could have had things wrapped up. This, I believe, Richard, this is a Graves on Gridiron special therapy edition. This is where, as you say, it's a safe space. You can get it out. You can admit, I'm Charles Dagnall, and I I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. And I think that people will just go, yes, we know what you're going through. And similarly with you with Dallas. But you know what? Plenty to talk about, plenty to look forward to. And may I apologize for my slightly Bonnie Tyler-esque voice. I'm just holding on to a little bit of illness here and there, but we power through. Unlike the Buccaneers, we can power through.
Are you holding on for a hero?
Oh, I might be, and I'm wondering where there is going to be one.
Look, Daggers, it could always be worse. This is how I'm trying to console myself this week, because as bad as you think you've got it, you could always be a fan of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh, God. I mean, they're the most irrelevant.
And I know one.
Do you know one?
I know one.
Are they just living under a rock or a cave or something like that? Just, scared to come out in the bright lights?
I think it's got to the stage where they're actually failing to acknowledge there is an organisation that goes by the name of the Raiders in the NFL right now. And quite frankly, who can blame them? As much as their frustration is no doubt at an all-time high, I've got to imagine for certain other NFL fans, definitely players, it is as well. Because it was a brutal week when you think of some of the injuries. Patrick Mahomes right at the end of the Chiefs' defeat against the Chargers, does an ACL. He's done for the year. Perhaps in the context of this season, more poignantly, so too is Micah Parsons for the Green Bay Packers. Yeah. Remember that the hoopla that surrounded the big trade made with Dallas at the start of the season, the move which many people considered elevated the Green Bay Packers into Super Bowl contenders. Well, not only did they lose a huge game in Denver at the weekend, but they lost their star pass rusher as well. The man they gave up 2 first-round picks for, he is done for the season with an ACL tear. Rashad Gary is still very much at the fore of that defensive front. But just briefly, Daggers, how big a loss do you feel that is for the Packers and their Super Bowl hopes?
Well, that was the missing piece of the puzzle, wasn't it? When they traded for Micah Parsons and they gave up quite a bit for him. We all said at the start of the season, I think we're all of similar mind, that the Packers had pretty much all bases covered, both offensively and also defensively, but they were missing that little bit of X factor, that star power, the guy that makes the play when you need it. And that's what they found in Micah Parsons. He had a little bit of a slow start in Green Bay, as you would expect. I think, I don't care who you are. I think when you are adapting to, new defensive coordinators, new systems and all of that, you're not going to go, you're going to have a little bit of a delay before your natural ability comes out within that system. But then he really did start to show us the player that we know.
12 and a half sacks in 14 games.
Absolutely. And he was everything that I think the Green Bay Packers hoped he would be, and that we know he is. It's not a case. It's not like you're getting someone who you don't know what their value is or their stock is and their abilities. You're getting a sure thing. And that proved to be. But when you're heading to this business end of the season where you need, one play can make or break your season, and it could be offensively or defensively, but he was that guy for them. And so in a very tough NFC, Packers are not going to get home field advantage. They'll quite possibly not even get a home game in any of the playoff rounds now. With Chicago going so well, they might not win their division, so that means they get in on a wild card. They're going to be on the road, and that's the kind of player that you need on the road.
That is a huge game, isn't it? Remember, there are 2 games being played on Saturday night this weekend. The Eagles and the Commanders, I think we can breeze past that one, but the Packers now having to go into Chicago without Micah Parsons. It was a good game first time round, a couple of weeks back, when Caleb Williams proved that he had the wherewithal to bring back the Bears and be driving to win the game at the very end there. Before, ironically enough, he's rushed by Parsons and throws an interception. Well, how will that influence this one? It remains to be seen. That is not one of the 3 games we're looking at in this week 16 slate. We're going to focus on the Sunday games, and we're going to where else could we start? Given the imploring open letter to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization, we start in the NFC South. 2 teams tied for the lead with incredible 500 records at 7-7. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers go to the Carolina Panthers. Daggers, sell me this matchup.
You said it with such vigor. 2 teams tied for the lead. This is a division that no one wants to win. And you know what? It is. There was a lot riding on it. And I've had a look at the standings. I'm not quite sure. Knowing what I know and what you know, how the Buccaneers win the tiebreaker, because they both have a 2-2 record within the division. Now, the Buccaneers play the Carolina Panthers twice in the next 3 weeks. They start off at Raymond James Stadium, and then they play.
That's how you win the tiebreaker.
Well, yeah, but then you've got to play them again in Carolina. But I think it might be against the sort of the conference and the similar games that they've played within the conference. So they do hold the tiebreaker. It is. I will tell you how.
I will tell you how they win the tiebreaker. It is because they've gone 1-1 against the New Orleans Saints, where Carolina was swept by the Saints.
Right. Oh, well, that's quite the record to have. Well done, Tampa Bay. Super. We got done by them 2 weeks ago, at Raymond James, and then we were defeated in that horrible game against the Atlanta Falcons last week. So, look, I think these are not too dissimilar sides at the moment in different ways. I think they are. The problem for Tampa Bay is that all of their players are back. And they played so much of the season in this sort of siege mentality. Well, we haven't got X and we haven't got Y and we haven't got Z, yet we're still putting in performances. Oh, just wait till they come back and we're going to run the table. Well, unfortunately, that didn't happen. Not against New Orleans and not against Atlanta. They have Mike Evans back. They have Chris Godwin back. They have Bucky Irving back. They've got Jalen McMillan back. Now, as a wide receiver group, you look at Evans, Godwin, Egbuka, and McMillan. That is a serious foursome that you've got. One of the best in the NFL, I would argue, right? Then you've got Bucky Irving back and Rashad White. So that's a very good 1-2 combination. Yet you still can't beat the Atlanta Falcons at home. So I think there was a lot of, you may have seen the Todd Bowles expletive-laden press conference
yes.
after that
7
defeat.
F-bombs dropped in the space of 40 seconds.
Yeah, and weirdly, even though it's not very good, to do that, it's nice to see some passion come out from him, and it's nice. He's quite a level planed type of guy, and that's fine. But I think that we saw a lot of the footage of the Bucs coming off. Mike Evans was very, very sour, as was players like Vita Vea, Hassan Reddick. The area that the Bucs, it's highlighting it to an enormous degree. You mentioned about the Dallas Cowboys just off air about their linebacking core, and I think it's the pass rush for Tampa Bay. They're just not getting any heat on any quarterback at the moment. Their linebacker play, save Levante David, who maybe has lost half a yard of pace anyway, is looking a little bit threadbare there defensively. So there's concerns for the Buccaneers. If you were to ask me now, which you are, my gut feel says the Bucs at home. Baker will be, that's one thing that he does. He has that drive and that personality to sort of galvanise the Buccaneers. And I think they will. But there's a lot riding on it. And it could be the difference of one play or one turnover that could actually decide this game. I think it's going to be quite close. What say you?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I'll throw it back to you before I have my say on this, because I went 1-2 last week. Our overall record on the show now stands at 19-23-2. So I need somebody who was perfect with their picks the last time they were on Graves on Gridiron. And that is you, Charles Dagnall. This is why I say, you mentioned the Bucs at home, Baker Mayfield. That's great. The Bucs aren't at home this week. They're in Carolina.
I was when I was prepping. I thought we had 2 home games and then we went to Carolina on the last game of the season.
No, I'm looking at the slate in front of me, and it tells me that this week the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in Carolina. I am going to
and I'd
double
like
check
to
that.
say that you are 100% right. Yes.
I
So
can't believe
want
you
to
made me
look-
doubt myself.
No, I am so sorry. And such a fan that I am that I've made that mistake. I actually genuinely thought it was the Bucs at home against the Panthers, then the Dolphins, and then we went to Carolina on the last round of the season. But my mistake. Right then. So going into Carolina, look, I think
The Buccaneers are
also
3-point favourites going into this game, by the way.
3 points favourite, and I reckon that's not too far off. Baker. Former Carolina said they didn't want Baker. He'll have a little bit of mustard on that. You know, I know there's these little storylines and games within a game, but I think that, when you get shunned or spurned by a team, that gives you that little bit of extra gas going into it. And I think Baker might have that in Carolina. I've been pleasantly surprised by Carolina. If you look at their, over the last sort of 4 or 5 years or so, I think that they're a side that are on the up. I think defensively they've improved greatly. They've got 3 really good pass catchers in Ted McMillan. They've got Coker. They've got Xavier Legette, who's actually come to play now. He started to find his way to sort of very powerful number 1 running backs, you'd say, in Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard. One thing is the Bucs are pretty decent against the run. I think they're going to have to try and make Bryce Young win this. With his arm through the air, and I think Todd Bowles is going to try and attack him with lot of safety or corner blitzes. I think because the normal 4-man pass rush is not getting there. So I think that we're going to see quite a few designs from the Bowles defense to put pressure on Bryce Young. And I'm not too dissimilar off this. The 3-point Buccaneers spread sounds about right to me in my gut as well. So which way I'm going to go, it could be a point either side. If you know, I will lean to the slight over. I will take the over on the 3-point spread. I'll go Buccaneers by 4 or 5 points, I think.
Small wonders will never cease. Daggers finally backing his hometown Buccaneers.
Yeah,
I've got to disagree with you. I'm not impressed with the Carolina Panthers. I think they have improved on defense, but that approach that you mentioned there of making Bryce Young win the game, I think essentially is what we saw from New Orleans last weekend, and he wasn't able to do it. I think you've seen an organization that without question has improved this year, but you're talking about coming from a fairly low base. And you look at their last 5 games, we all know the woeful form the Bucs have shown, but Carolina have lost 3 of their last 5, and 2 of those are to the New Orleans Saints. The other one, they lost to the 49ers. Well, that's fine. You look at their 2 wins. To this day, I don't know how the Rams managed to lose in Carolina. They turned the ball over. It was the only way Carolina were winning that game was with a lot of help from the Rams, and the Rams duly obliged. And then they beat the Falcons in overtime as well in a game that could have swung either way. So when you get to this stage of the season, the business end of the season, when it's all laid out before you, you know what is on the line. I am always going to go with the experience. I'm always going to go with the players that have been there, done it, and shown me they know how to get over the line. And without question, that is the team that is led by Baker Mayfield, who, let's not forget, 2 years ago had to go to this very stadium and get the win in order to take the Bucs to the playoffs. And he did it in a matchup on paper. It looks far closer than this one does. And you mentioned he's got his main weapons back. Well, I hear what you're saying. They've lost games when they've been on the field, but you always lack that little bit of match sharpness when you come back. Well, I think that's all knocked off now. There are no more excuses. You've seen the reaction of the players to the defeat last week. You heard the reaction from the head coach, and you've effectively had a mini bye in terms of being able to prepare for this key divisional matchup. So you might be on the road, but you're the team, you're the players that have shown me you can get the job done. Give me the Buccaneers at -3. They will take hold of the NFC South starting this weekend for me. So we are of an accord, Daggers. We're both going with the Buccaneers.
But what is the slightly upsetting thing for a Tampa Bay Buccaneers is you've made your decision on how 2 sides have fared against the New Orleans Saints, Right, this is how bad it's got for the NFC South. That's how bad it's got. But no, I see that, and I'm in agreement with you. It's I think they step up after what was a shocking week last week.
Well, I know why people might doubt them, because they've lost 5 of their last 6, the Bucs. And when you look at who they've lost to, the Falcons, the Saints, there's no shame in losing to the Rams, the Bills, and the Patriots. In fact, but the only team they've beaten, and that ended up being far closer than it should have been, were the Cardinals, who are equally as bad. So I hear the doubters, but I am going with the Buccaneers. I do not see how this story continues for Carolina. I think it's been a good season for them. I think it ends this weekend effectively. We've still got 2 huge matchups to come and look ahead to on this Week 16 slate of Graves on Gridiron. Don't go away.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Welcome back to Graves on Gridiron, Week 16. We've already looked at the mouth-watering clash in the NFC South. Daggers can't keep a straight face, neither can I when I say that, quite frankly. But we're taking the Buccaneers to win the game and cover as 3-point favourites. Now, we do have 2 genuine heavyweight title contenders for the 2 games we're going to look at from the rest of the slate on Sunday. And we start with the best team by record in the NFL right now, the 12-2 Denver Broncos, hosting a resurgent Jacksonville Jaguars, who have a 10-4 record. Unsurprisingly, the odds makers have listened to this show, Daggers, and this week the Broncos are 3-point favourites at home. But they're going up against a Jags who, since coming back from the hiding they took in London at the hands of the LA Rams, have been resurgent.
They really have. And I have been, not that anyone listens to me, but I've been a fairly fierce critic of Trevor Lawrence, and not sort of on a personal front. I don't think the guy's done anything wrong, but I just think that given the expectation of when he came out of college, and the sort of similar kind of vibe for when Andrew Luck came out of college as well, and you'd expected a better progression from a player such as Trevor Lawrence over the first sort of 5 years of his career. And he was still making relatively basic mistakes. Now, not all of that is his fault. He's been going through head coaches and coordinators a lot in his time at the Jacksonville Jaguars. But it looks as though Liam Cohen, former Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator, who left in such a nice way, the Buccaneers.
No bitterness, Daggers.
No, I'm sorry. Dave Canales, lovely guy, like him. Liam Cohen, and I think that he has got the confidence in Trevor Lawrence, or he's got his own personal Lawrence's confidence up. The way he slung it, albeit against a woeful New York Jets team, which had just sort of basically given up the ghost. But I think
he's fired defensive coordinator Steve Wilkes on the back of that defensive.
Yeah, and they just look so disinterested. So I think a little bit of credence has to be taken from that particular performance. But you can't argue with the numbers, the run of form that they have been in, and is it time to start believing a little bit in the Jacksonville Jaguars? What you need is a game against high-quality opposition away from home to find out who they really are. And it just so happens that is exactly what we've got in this Denver Broncos team.
I am going to cut in there, if you don't mind, because I'm glad you've mentioned that. They do need a statement win. And this is why I do not believe in the Jacksonville Jaguars, because I know they've won 6 of their last 7, but listen to the teams that they've beaten in those 6 games. It started with an overtime 30-29 win over those Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh, you got to start somewhere.
They were double digits up against a Houston Texans side that were lacking QB1. CJ Stroud was out with concussion. They lost that game 36-29 after a second half collapse. They then beat the Chargers at home. That seemed a good performance, 35-6, before edging out on the road the Arizona Cardinals in overtime again, 27-24. They handled the Tennessee Titans 25-3. They beat an Indianapolis Colts side down, obviously, Daniel Jones, 36 points to 19. and then they handled the New York Jets this weekend. Look, I struggle to put a case forward for being championship contenders on the back of certainly 5 of those 6 wins.
No, I totally agree. And this was the slight that was held against the New England Patriots as well, going into...
As you all know, if you listened to last week's show, it is a slight that I brought up.
Absolutely. And they're and look, it's not the team's fault. You can only beat who you are. And it gives... a lot of confidence going through the locker room and wins, and you're heading towards the playoffs, which is obviously a good thing. There is nothing that they can do about the schedule. However, for people like us, we still have questions, and I think especially you look at the New England Patriots last week against the Buffalo Bills. Are they those guys? Are they that side? 21 points to 0 up, and then the Buffalo Bills come back and have 5 straight touchdown drives and stuff. So we're learning a little bit more. Now, does this make the Patriots a bad side? No, it doesn't make them a bad side. But and I feel that same as you about Jacksonville. I think going to Denver, look, there is and you might be able to tell me this, given my mistake about the Buccaneers being at home or in Carolina. But if the Broncos win this game, are they absolutely guaranteed home field advantage? Are they the number 1 seed if they win this game?
It all depends on how the New England Patriots do, I think, because they're a game back right now.
But it puts them in pole position.
Oh, it absolutely does, yes.
To do that. And, do you want to go to Mile High in the depths of winter? If you're if the Super Bowl goes through Denver, that is a huge
watch out. And it's a point I raised last week, and it bears re-emphasizing as well. The Denver Broncos at home this season are now a perfect 7-0. When you go all the way back to the start of last season, the 2024 campaign, they are 13-2 when playing at Investec Field up there at Mile High. It is a fortress in every sense of the word. And what's most impressive now is that beginning of October, you saw the Dallas Cowboys roll in there with their number 1 ranked offense with George Pickens and CD Lamb and Dak playing out of his skin. No one can stop them.
Yeah.
Bring on the next. Bring on the next. So you come with Jordan Love. You spot him a 7-point lead last weekend. And you come roaring back in the second half. Bo Nix throws 4 TD passes. Yeah. Your defense does what that Broncos defense does. And you win the game and establish yourself as the force in the AFC. And no offense intended, but the Jags offense isn't up there with either of those two.
Exactly right. Exactly what I was going to say. The Jags offense ain't Green Bay's offense. And I think that when you look at that defense, and the Broncos also seem to lift themselves against better opposition. Another very, very good sign. Packers, everyone talks about Packers. In a sense, everyone talks about these other sides, and not necessarily in the same vein as they talk about the Denver Broncos. And if the Packers come in with this storied history and these top draw players, and the Broncos go, right, all right, well, that's fine. We'll just take care of business. Bo Nix, by the way, I still think there's elements. Let's remember, he's only a second-year quarterback, so you've got to take that into consideration. But I think where he is right now, there are still elements of the, whoa, hang on, what you're doing about you. But he seems to thrive when plays are on the line, when certain circumstances dictate, when you need a play in a drive, if you're 3rd and long or whatever it might be, he seems to find it. And I've been, his progression under Sean Payton has been fantastic. That Vance Joseph defense, I mean, Nick Bonito having another great season. I think they've lost safety Brandon Jones I think he's been put on IR. So that's a little bit of a dent there because their secondary is so strong. But Al Singleton, the amount of tackles that he makes we talk about the lack of linebackers in our teams for Dallas and for Tampa Bay, and there just seems to be a plethora of them in Denver. I think the Jaguars are going to get a wake-up call. I really do. I think it would best serve their interest if they can try and get the run established. I really do think that. But Basil Tootin might not be available to them. because I think he's questionable with an injury. But if they can try and keep it close, Jacksonville, if they can, because I actually can see the Denver Broncos, if they get up 2 scores or something like that,
it's over.
They could just fall apart massively. So,
I think it'll be difficult to get that run established, because for all we talk about how good this secondary is in Denver, this is the number 2 ranked defense when it comes to stopping the run as well. And you look at what the Jags offer from an offensive perspective, they're middle of the pack in pretty much all their numbers. 16th overall, 18th in passing offense, 16th when running the ball. Top 10, they're averaging 26.9 points a game. That's 8th best in the NFL. But again, we've just been through who their opponents have been recently.
Who's the number 1 run-stopping defense in the NFL?
That's a really good question. And I'm glad you asked it, because
answer.
It is those. Go ahead.
It is the Jacksonville Jaguars. So
it is, exactly.
It is, so again, other aspects not to be necessarily taken lightly. But I honestly think the Jacksonville, this game will be decided on how Trevor Lawrence deals with that Denver Broncos defense. I really think that's, and if it's not
I
perfect,
will tell you that having been at Wembley and watched him play, again, it's 2 months ago now, so things change quickly and decisively, as we've seen in the National Football League. But the one knock on Trevor Lawrence going into that game was that he wasn't seeing the field as clearly as he might. And what I saw in that defeat to the LA Rams was he wasn't getting to open receivers quick enough. By the time he did, he'd effectively spotted the pass defense for the Rams, and they knew where he was going. Now, I keep saying you can only beat what is in front of you, and that is what both he and the Jacksonville Jaguars have done. My concern remains the way they allowed the Houston Texans, with the quality of defense we now know they have, to come back in that lone defeat in this 7-game run. Well, now you're going against the Denver Broncos, who across the board defensively pretty much the benchmark in the NFL. 5th overall, 2nd defending the run, 4th in points allowed, only allowing 18.6 a game. Now, their Achilles heel, you like, is in defending the pass. Yeah, well, not so much of an Achilles heel, is it? They're 11th best in the NFL. And the Jags are going to have to throw the ball in this game. And what I saw last week, which impresses me most, is that Bo Nix, for the first time, showed signs of being the quarterback I thought he was going to be at the start of the season, and going against the 6th best defense of the Packers in the NFL. And in the second half, he played at a high level. And you look at the Jags defense, well, they've been opportunistic against the pass this season. They've not been particularly good at defending it. Matthew Stafford cut them to ribbons in that win the Rams had in London. I'm all in on the Denver Broncos. We've said this repeatedly on this show. 3-point favorites at home, I don't think that's enough. So give me Denver.
Yeah, and I have to agree. I know it makes for better, but all the arguments that we have both put forward, I just find it hard to believe that Jacksonville are there yet to go away in cold weather at Mile High, where the record is so good for the Denver Broncos. I'm staggered it's only 3 points, if I'm honest.
I completely agree.
I think the Denver Broncos get the win. But again, we will find out a lot about both of these sides.
I think a lot of that, Daggers, comes back to the perception of how average they've been on offense this season, because they've been involved in a lot of one-score games. And yet I'm now looking at the Broncos' offensive stats, and what occurs to me is that very quietly they've been moving up. I can remember a time when they were down in the bottom half of the NFL offensively. Yeah. Well, now they're 11th in overall offense, 11th in passing the ball, 17th in running is a bit surprising, but 12th in scoring offense, more than 24 points a game. They're trending in the right direction. So, I think we're agreed. Give us Denver to win. Give us Denver to cover at -3. Okay, let's finish back in the AFC this week then, Daggers. Huge game in every aspect. It's the New England Patriots with their 11-3 record going into Baltimore to take on the 7-7 Ravens. The Ravens getting back to winning ways last weekend in some style in Cincinnati. They're 3-point favorites in this game. For the Patriots, it is a show me game now. You need to bounce back. Are you the team you think you are? You know, that they were 21-0 up at home to the Buffalo Bills. They had that game, and by virtue of that scoreline, the number one seed in the AFC East, that was theirs, if you like. They were going to book themselves a home field game in the first round of the playoffs. Well, now they're a game behind the Broncos in the AFC, and suddenly the Bills are interested in the AFC East.
I mean, they are. They're just, it's almost like the New England Patriots are there and then just peering over their shoulders. Oh, yes, don't forget about that. And as soon as you slip up, we're through for the Buffalo Bills. I thought the Bills were good. I mean, it was a fantastic game to watch. It really was. And all of this sort of last 4 or 5 week slate that the NFL have put on has just been, you've been glued, absolutely glued. I remember actually was watching. I was watching Red Zone on Sunday, and my partner, as she came in, and just sort of asked us something and nothing about whether I don't know, wanted a cup of tea or something like that. Get out! Get out! And she sort of went away, going, "My God, what is it?" And
did you not say it's after 6 p.m. on a Sunday?
It's Sunday night, 6 o'clock. I am dead to you. And I will be revived at 12:30. But again, let's say a lot has been made of the Patriots losing that 21 or the Bills coming back from 21 points down. If you take it in, if you look at the box score, I thought Drake May played pretty well. Yes, they didn't have a good second half, but Buffalo did. They got things going, but there was only 4 points difference. They beat Buffalo in Buffalo earlier on in the season. So this is not as though the world is falling down around the New England Patriots. Travion Henderson's 2 50-yard runs, they were fabulous. And the speed that he got and accelerated away from the Bills' defense. So there's still a lot of good in New England. I thought Drake May looked really good, really fantastic in the first half, especially. They just couldn't seem to get things going in the second, and I think Buffalo's defense made some adjustments that really worked well for them. But they've got weapons. The New England Patriots, they've got a very solid defense, although that was shown up a little bit in the second half of that Bills game. And then they go to the Baltimore Ravens, who shut out the Bengals in Cincinnati. John Harbaugh called it their most perfect game of the season.
I could not disagree more with that comment.
Well, that's what he said anyway. I don't know about you. I mean, again, this is the Baltimore Ravens, which some people had slated as Super Bowl champions. God, how foolish were you?
Who would do that, Daggis?
Who would do that? That's just so random. Who would come up with an idea like that? Goodness, they've been average defensively this year. Now, okay, they have stepped up in the second half of the season. The defense has got a lot better than we saw in the first half. Something still doesn't quite look right with Lamar. And
I agree.
He doesn't look, he's not using his legs very much. I don't know if there is an injury that they're not letting us know about, but this is not.
Earlier on in the season, he was dealing with a hamstring injury, wasn't he? And we're told he's fully recovered, fully over that. I'm not so sure.
I'm not convinced because he got Baltimore out of a lot of jams offensively, and he at the moment is a pocket quarterback. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. He's still got great arm. He's still got very good accuracy.
Expand on that. What are you trying to tell me here, Daggers?
I'm saying that he is not a dual threat quarterback. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that he is not. He's not the Lamar Jackson that we expect. That is a difference maker for the Baltimore Ravens. You know, if there's nothing on and you've got a little bit of space in the middle of the field, Lamar Jackson's going to exploit it. The quarterback designed runs are not coming. They're not happening for them. Now, the good news for the Ravens is that Derrick Henry got going last week against Cincinnati. So you sort of take that.
The worst run defense in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, but you've got to take the small positives. If you're a 7-7 team, and I know this, you've got to take the positives where you can. But the most important thing for the Baltimore Ravens, I think from their perspective, it doesn't matter how this week. It doesn't matter how. If it's a 10-6 win, if they've got to keep in touch with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, albeit, beat a very average Miami team on last night on Monday Night Football.
Well, this is why it makes it such a big game, though, isn't it? Because the Steelers do now have a game lead over the Ravens, and the games are running out. Yeah,
and that Week 18 matchup, I think, between the Ravens and the Steelers could very well dictate how this AFC North division will go. There is a lot riding on it. Going for New England, going into a difficult place to play. I don't care if they're 7-7. It's still not easy to go into Baltimore and come away with a result. And again, we're going to learn more about this New England Patriots side, who are coming in off the back of a devastating loss at home against a division rival who is now just over their shoulder, knowing full well that should they slip up again, Buffalo's not gonna. You can't see Buffalo, slipping up in that way. So they're under pressure. This New England side are under pressure. Which way this will go? And talking gut feel, my gut feeling is for the home side. Again, not by much, but I think there's more.
Well, they're 3-point favourites.
Yeah, and I just feel, I do. I feel that there is more on this for the Ravens, weirdly. This is their season on the line, you would argue, as opposed to the New England Patriots, where, and we're trying to differentiate in very small margins here. No, the Patriots season isn't on the line. They're going to make the playoffs. They do have a division title to try and win and get a home game in the playoffs. But I don't think it's as do or die for them. And I think they're on the road. And I think the Baltimore Ravens just nick it. I think they nick it.
I am conflicted about this because I did like the way the Ravens bounced back on the road last weekend. I particularly loved the play in which Kyle Van Noy makes the interception and then shows incredible awareness. You just don't see this on a regular basis in the NFL. He realizes, I'm a mid-30s linebacker. I am not going to run 90 yards. Oh, I've got a young rookie, first, second-year player by me. Here you go, bud. You take the ball. You go. And he runs the length of the field and scores the touchdown and ices the game. I did appreciate that. However, I'm minded to say in winter weather, and these are going to be winter conditions this weekend in Baltimore, it's a strong run game and a strong defense, which wins out in these conditions. I loved what I saw from the rookie running back for New England, Travion Henderson, last weekend. Not just the explosive plays, but his breadth of work now suggests he's a stud and he's going to be around for a few years to come. And then I look across at the other side of the ball, what Baltimore have, and there's a name I'm going to throw at you that won't be familiar to everybody, Teddy Buchanan. He's a rookie linebacker who has been outstanding for the Ravens in an average defense this year. 93 tackles. He's become a 3-down linebacker. He's been good in blitz packages. He is gone for the season. We spoke about Mahomes. We spoke about Parsons. Well, another player who got an ACL injury last weekend that flies under the radar by virtue of being a 4th-round pick for the Baltimore Ravens this past April is Teddy Buchanan. So he's gone. That's a big hole in the middle of their defense now. There's talk about using Kyle Hamilton, their Pro Bowl safety, more as a linebacker type player against the run, playing close to the line. They've got an embarrassment of riches, Malachi Starks amongst them that can just fill the gaps in the secondary at safety. But I don't think this is the type of team that you want to be making those type of changes against. And this is now a Mike Vrabel-led New England Patriots. He's a head coach I have a ton of respect for. I think time and time again, he just gets the very best out of the players in his group. And I think that's what we're seeing here with the Patriots this season. They were 21-0 up last weekend against the Buffalo Bills. They controlled Josh Allen in the first half. And then I don't know whether it's a case of losing discipline or just Josh Allen making Josh Allen plays, but he was outstanding. He was the MVP player that we know from last year that put the Bills on his back and turned this thing around for them last weekend. Lamar Jackson is not that player this season. He is not 100% healthy. I'm convinced of that. And we've just broken it down and told you why. There's something not quite right there. Zay Flowers hasn't been catching the ball as well as you'd like. There's been mistakes. I still can't get Isaiah Likely out of my mind from several weeks back when he drops the ball running into the end zone. I know the Ravens are at home. I know it's all on the line for them. But this is Mike Vrabel's New England Patriots. I think that's the type of defeat last weekend that comes at just the right time. He now wants this team to show him what they're made of. And I think they get back to basics. I think they exploit a Ravens defense, which is 23rd in the NFL, 26th giving up the pass, 15th against the run. We're going to get back to basic football for the Patriots this weekend. It's what's got them this far. I think 3-point underdogs going into Baltimore, a place where we've seen the Bengals go in and have their way with them, a team that's been beaten by the Steelers already this season. Give me New England. Give me them. I think they win outright, but they'll definitely cover at +3.
Okay. I am going Baltimore, as I've said. I'm gonna. I kind of have to, considering I picked them for the Super Bowl at the start of the season. So I mean, I've been sort of pushed into that, but I do think that, you know, I get, and I like a lot of what, I mean, you have to like what New England have done this year, but the first time they actually, bar Buffalo in Buffalo, which was a great win, they haven't played a great deal. Their schedule has been quite soft. They have been found out, and maybe it's a kind of situation where they might not necessarily think they are who they thought they were, a little bit, to quote Denny Green, or a sort of paraphrasing of Denny Green. I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens. I think it's going to be a close-ish match. I really do. I think we're going to see a lot of ground game. Going to think we're going to see a lot of Hunter Henry and a lot of Mark Andrews being used. But I'm taking them by. I think it's a close one. What is it? +3 Ravens.
Ravens 3-point favorites, -3.
I am going to take. I'm going to go with you. I think this is a close game. I think it's a 1-point game.
Hang on, Daggers. Are those splinters I see coming out of your backside right now?
I'm going to take the under, and but I still think the Ravens win. I think they win by a point.
So you're taking the Patriots at +3.
Yeah. Yeah. But you think the Patriots are going to win? I think the
Patriots win it outright. Yeah, I really.
But there's
do.
our little difference. We're taking the same, but our difference is that I think the Ravens will win.
It doesn't matter. It's all about the spread, Daggers.
No, I'm trying to differentiate.
And so, because you were a perfect 3-0 when you were last on the show a couple of weeks ago, my heart feels warmed in the knowledge that surely means the show will go 3-0 this week and bounce back to winning ways.
Massively due.
I want to give our listeners a bonus game, as we did when you were last on. We don't need to break this down. It's just a line that made me look twice. The San Francisco 49ers go across country to the Indianapolis Colts, the Philip Rivers-led Indianapolis Colts.
So much fun.
It is, isn't it just? And they played incredibly well in Seattle last weekend and gave the Seahawks the fright of their lives. Does it surprise you if I tell you that the Niners, going into Indy, are 6-point favorites?
Yes. Yes, it does.
That's what I thought.
And especially given that this is Monday Night Football. This is nationally televised game, and people are going to see Philip Rivers. And I don't care what you say. I thought this was fantastic, a great storyline. And I was listening to some chat about the Indianapolis game at the Seahawks. And I can't remember what podcast I was listening to, but it was a thing.
You listen to others?
I did. I'm sorry, but it was. I think a really salient point was made. Philip Rivers, I think, completed 17 or 18 passes, and he only threw for 120 yards. What he gives you, though, is the reading of defenses, where their strengths and weaknesses lie. And that is something that a young rookie quarterback doesn't necessarily know. He might have the arm strength and he might have the escapability, but this guy can... You talk about game managers, that's exactly what Philip Rivers can do. And he can spot weaknesses. And he's got that sort of trash-talking, fun-loving kind of... That personality that can lift sides around him and can lift the franchise. And when you've been dealt a blow like the one with Daniel Jones, I thought Indianapolis's defense really stood up. I think Shane Steichen has probably turned to them and said, look, you're going to have to, without our starting QB, you're going to have to play a far bigger role in winning us games and getting us to playoff football. And I think that's what the Colts did. Now, granted, going in to Seattle and losing on a last-minute field goal is no shame on the Indianapolis Colts whatsoever. And restricting Seattle's offense to 6 field goals by Jason Myers, I think, is a pretty good result. When you're starting a 44-year-old grandfather for the first time in 5 years or whatever it is, I think they performed admirably. And I think that does surprise me. Going to Indianapolis and San Francisco being a 6-point favourite, I'm not so sure.
And I think it's a must-win game now for the Colts. Because having held the number 1 seed slot for a long time, they're currently on the outside looking in. They're 8-6, lying third in the AFC South. I'm not saying that they're necessarily going to beat the 49ers this weekend, but I don't expect San Francisco to blow them out either. So a 6-point game at home. Your bonus tip from myself and Daggers, I think I'm safe to say this weekend, is look towards Philip Rivers and those Indianapolis Colts to cover at +6. Okay, let's recap then, Daggers, the 3 games that we've taken from this Week 16 slate. That titanic clash in the AFC South where 500 is the key number. The Bucs going to the Panthers. We're both agreed the Bucs take this at -3. Then it's on to Mile High. Denver Broncos hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. Denver, just 3-point favourites after they showed you who they were last weekend. Come on, guys. Take Denver at -3 before we finish up in Baltimore. The Patriots looking to bounce back against the Ravens in a must-have game for Baltimore. The Ravens are 3-point favourites. We are not buying it. Daggers has tried to smoke and mirrors you about the Ravens win by a point. That's not the game. It's covering the spread. Give us New England at +3. Like you say, Daggers, the last few weeks have been nothing if they haven't been entertaining. If you have a vested interest in one of the teams that we've been watching over the last few weeks, it's given you something of, I'll say at best, palpitations, nigh on a coronary at times when it gets bad. But it is must-see TV.
Oh, is it ever? And you mentioned about that. Is there going to be a hotter ticket in the NFL than on that Monday night Indianapolis game? I would want to go and watch Philip Rivers. I would.
Of course you would.
And some of these matchups, and we just mentioned 3 of them, but some of these matchups leading into next week are absolutely epic. And we're talking about, I just sort of like mentioned the other ones. Packers-Bears is I mean, goodness me,
huge
I'm not
game.
necessarily going to mention the Jets and the Saints, but you look at some of these other matchups that are around the league, and I think there are some really, really stellar. Just keep your eye on those Houston Texans. I think they've got something. I don't know. I think
you could be right. I think you could be right. And if it comes to pass, I think people will look back to that matchup at home to the Jacksonville Jaguars earlier in the season when they're down by 2, maybe 3 scores, and yet they roared back to nick the win. They'll highlight that as the turning point. I think it's worth pointing out as well, this is our last Graves on Gridiron podcast before Christmas. There won't be a show in Christmas week because, frankly, there are games almost every day Christmas week. You've got a couple on Christmas Day itself. In In fact, I'm looking at the schedule now. You've actually got 3 because the Cowboys and the Commanders kick off 6 p.m. UK time. Then it's Detroit at Minnesota before the Thursday night football game, Broncos at Chiefs. My family are not going to be happy with me on Christmas Day because Christmas night...
just ask for that as a present. Just sell it to them as though it's a really cheap option for them. They don't have to spend any money. They just want to watch it. You just want to have 3 hours watching the Cowboys.
You've got the Texans and Chargers on Saturday, the 27th of December. There's Sunday night football. There's Monday night football that week. In fact, you could probably just live off watching NFL TV.
I've got nothing to add. I cannot add anything. I'm just going to be glued. I'm going to be glued. You're going to be glued. It really is. We talk about the Buccaneers Panthers game at being mouthwatering, but it is. There's so many storylines, and we're heading towards, who's going to be in, who's not going to be in, where the season really kicks off, and this is just epic. I cannot wait for Sunday to come round.
Well, well, indeed. The good news is, Daggers, no one will hear me saying anything about the Cowboys because I've officially stuck a fork in them. They are done for the season. I am looking forward to our text conversations over the next 2 weeks because I feel they are going to be nothing if they're not entertaining.
Yeah. Just don't be surprised if I don't respond.
All that's left to say is have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, Daggers. I'm already going to book you right now, so clear your schedule. Week 1 of the playoffs, wildcard weekend, it's going to be a Graves and Daggers special going into that one. Where the Daggers is mournfully lamenting the demise of the Buccaneers and talking about Panthers, and that's another thing entirely. But I don't need to worry so much about that. But yeah, have a great Christmas, Daggers. Thanks for joining us on a number of occasions this year. It's been an absolute blast.
Oh, and you too, and to all your family, and to everybody listening to Graves on Gridiron. It's such great fun, and thank you for having me on this. It really is such a blast to talk about it, and hope the Christmas period is a really jolly and safe one for you and for everybody listening.
And a special note for the Raiders fans. I am hoping and praying that Father Christmas brings you a tie. You don't even need a win, just have a tie. Well, watch the deluge of comments come in now. No, seriously, to everyone, thanks for listening. Have a very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. No Graves on Gridiron in Christmas week, but I'll be back ahead of the Week 18 final slate of matches to look at the matchups that matter going into the final week of the regular season. But for now, from me and Daggers, say goodbye, Daggers.
Goodbye, Daggers.
So long, everybody. Have a great Christmas.
Subscribe to Graves on Gridiron wherever you listen to podcasts. And keep up to date with the latest on Twitter. Search for Richard Graves 1. That's Richard Graves, the number 1.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.